it's going. All right, folks, for those tuning in from the internet, what you guys missed was the grinding of that flake. So basically, we're going to put down another flake on this flake. The idea to prep this, you can grind it, hit it with a diamond brush, different options. You want to get rid of all the shiny. So this clear, shiny coat you see on here is polyaspartic, and you can't, once the recoat window is closed, this was done, I don't know, weeks ago or so, and you know, the recoat window closed that day, so you need to abrade this and get rid of, so I call it deglazing or deglossing. You cannot, if there's any shiny, you're not going to get a bond to that, so you need to get rid of the shiny. If you sand it, you can sand it, you just won't get into the low spots. And you know, 60 grit sandpaper, diamond brush, grinder, you just grinding, you got to be careful not to go through the floor. So we did not get rid of all the shiny, to be clear. You guys can probably see it from the camera. You guys here in person can see it. We're just trying to be quick on time. I'm going to be removing this floor in like a week, so it doesn't matter. But just so everyone is clear, remove all shiny. All right, so when you come back to your project next day, I'm going to find a nice corner in the doorway where I'm not going to, you know, make an imperfection or anything. I'm going to take my finger. There's a finger test I like to do, right? So I'll just take my finger, and I'll just kind of press real gently. Is it tacky? Is it sticky? No, it's not sticky. It's not tacky, right? All right, now I'm going to take a little bit of weight, and I'm just going to press a little bit. Am I leaving an indentation? Am I leaving a fingerprint? Maybe press a little bit harder.
Are you pressing with the pad or the nail?
The pad, just my finger pad here. So I left a fingerprint. Let me see if it wipes away, right? So it just barely left a fingerprint. So there, it just failed that test. So this is still very soft. Now let's say I did that at like a whole bunch of weight and there's no fingerprint, no nothing. Right, now I want to do this in a spot where no one's going to see this. Like if I open the door, I'm going to do it like down in the corner or something, or maybe if they're going to put trim up, I'm going to do it in the edge. All right, you definitely don't want to reach in and stick your hand right in your floor. I've had someone do that to one of my floors before. They were like, oh, look at epoxy, and they went up and they were like, and put their whole hand in it, and it was way softer than this. And I mean, there was a handprint in the middle of the floor, and I was like, you got to be kidding, right? So you got to be careful not to do that. But let's say I do that, and there's nothing, right? I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. So the next test is to take your fingernail and you just stab it, right? If I stab it, you know, all right, nothing happens. All right, now I'm gonna stab it, I'm gonna twist with my fingernail. If nothing happens, then I'm gonna feel comfortable to walk out there. I'm probably gonna do it in my socks. I'm not gonna wear shoes or anything. I'm not gonna wear cleats. And I'm gonna go around and inspect my floor. I'm gonna go make sure there's no bugs in it, no lizards in it, birds or whatever, inside, outside, whatever, regardless of the floor, you're gonna go inspect your floor, right? Assuming I don't walk into a soft spot, that would be like the worst case scenario, right? You walk around, you're like, oh, it's all cured, we're good to go. You know, check your time, you're like, I'm still in the recoat window, perfect, I can do my next layer, whatever stage you're at. If you walk around and you find a soft spot, that's a big problem. You're full stop and we'll have to remediate that. But let's assume that doesn't happen, right? So in this scenario, I would want to mop this. Now, right now, since it failed that test, I'm not even going to walk on it, and I'm definitely not going to mop it. All right? I might be able to vacuum it right now, but that would be really risky. So if I can make a fingerprint, it's probably not worth it. So epoxy that is not protected, doesn't have a top coat on it, you can very easily make micro scratches or scuffs and stuff like that. And this is a beautiful floor. Like that looks so cool. I don't want to do that, right? I would want to top coat this. Let's assume that there's no bugs, not a bunch of dust in it. The homeowner didn't open a window or open the door to peek on the floor and suck a bunch of things in the floor. Let's say I'm happy with the floor, then I would just mop it and top coat it, right? But let's say there is a big bug in the floor. There's a fly, right? What do flies do when they land in your epoxy? They're going to land. They're not going to die instantly, so they're going to try to fly out of it, and they're going to spin around and put circles in your floor. That's awful. If you're lucky and they don't do that, and maybe they're stuck, maybe it was pretty set up and they're not able to kind of move around in it, and there's just a blob there. So you got a couple options, right? Depending on how. Okay, so there's bugs, right? There can be big flies, there can be moths, there can be whatever. There can be tiny bugs. There can be like ants in your floor, gnats. You would think that a gnat would just kind of blend in. There's probably going to be a little tiny raised spot. You might not see it, but as you're walking, you'll feel it, right? So any gnat size trash as well, like little specks of dust that are just enough to make a raised thing, I would call those nibs, right? And you'll go all around and try to find all the nibs. And you might not find them all. I mean, you know, it is what it is, but you'll probably find most of them. If you're doing these floors all the time, you're gonna walk in and you're instantly gonna be like, nib, 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 bug. All right, I need to go take care of that. Something wasn't sealed, or something got opened, or whatever it is, or maybe there's just a bunch of bugs already in there, and then they are attracted to the smell or whatever. So you gotta address this. You got a couple options, right? So depending on what your next step is, if you're gonna do a urethane, if you're gonna do ballistics, whatever you're gonna do, you wanna do the least aggressive solution to make it go away, right? So if, let's say I'm gonna do a urethane. Let's say I'm gonna do a satin urethane. I can probably take some like high grit sandpaper. The higher, the better, right? But let's say I think you can probably get away with going to like 220, like gently, right? So if it's not super raised, you know, if it's just a little speck of a bug, I might just take a razor blade and kind of cut them out, not scratching my design, not messing it up, and just cut the bug out a little bit. If I need to, just cut the part that's raised. If the bug's in the floor and just part of him is sticking above the floor, I mean, you can dig him out, but then you're making a larger hole in your floor. You know, you kind of got to decide, is it worth it or not? Can you even tell he's in the floor or not? If it's the whole floor's black and it's super busy, probably not even going to see the bug. I just need to make sure he is not raised, not a nib, right? Now, if he went and did swirls around the floor, I mean, that's kind of, you know, is what it is. You're probably going to see that. So what else? So you can go around, cut out what you can, right? Maybe sand some spots. You just got to keep in mind, if you go sanding things, you need to know, what can my next layer hide, right? If it can't hide it, then you need to do the whole thing to make it all consistent. Last thing you want to do is change the sheen. When you sand it, you're making it like, you're going to change the sheen, right? It's not going to be as glossy in that spot, or it's going to be, maybe it'll be almost like a matte in that spot. I mean, it depends on what you do. I've seen different things happen to different people's floors. So if you are down to there's no choice and you have to do this or that, you know, decide. Or if you're not sure, give us a call. Hey, is this going to cover up? Is my next layer going to make this go away? Like, so if I'm putting, let's say I sand this whole floor, maybe I even make some deeper scratches, or maybe there's just so many bugs everywhere. I'm like, oh man, all I can do is just sand the whole thing, whatever, right? I could put a flood coat of clear with no pigment on this, and I can just remake the whole floor flat. That's one fix, right? But on top of that, so that's an expensive way to do it, but oftentimes that is, if you're trying to do a gloss floor or something, that's probably what I would do. So think of it like this. This is also another way. You could even, some people do a flood coat of clear anyway as part of the design. So if I were to do that, it's actually going to add depth to the floor. It adds like another deeper three-dimensional look to it. It's not even that thick really if you think about it, because everything's in mils, which is like a tiny measurement. But for whatever reason, when you're looking at it, I don't know if it's the refraction of the light or what, but it's going to make the floor look deeper. This already looks super three-dimensional, like right there. That looks like some weird three-dimensional stuff going on there, but it's really not. It's all flat. So if I add another layer of clear, it's going to exaggerate that. I might have to get a blower and just blow that off, because I want to look at that. So if you were to sand it with like a 220 or higher and not be too crazy with it, not make a bunch of gouges, you'd probably be okay to cover up with urethane. All right. And if you're not sure, like I said, give us a call. Now, if I were to have to sand all this, I wouldn't be able to go over that with ballistics. All right. Black Label's not going to fill in a bunch of gouges and scratches and pigtails from my palm sander. If you're palm sanding epoxy, let's say I'm in the same spot for too long, and start to heat up the epoxy and melt it, that's a problem. So when you're doing it, don't stay in the same spot. Kind of do a little bit, maybe go to another spot, you know, come back to that. Because I've done that before. I was like working something. I'm like, man, what in the world is going on here? I don't know. It's like a rock or something. I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna get through it. And I like started melting the floor. I'm like, oh no. So I mean, you kind of really got to work at it to get it that you know, drastic, but it can happen. So yeah, I mean, oftentimes people will just throw a clear down. Worst case scenario, you re-pour. But that's if something like went through your design, you come back and the whole thing washed out because there was some low spot you weren't aware of or whatever. Another scenario of low spots moving your floor, so let's say you have a really bad bird bath. I've been on a floor where most of it was pretty flat and there wasn't a lot of movement. You know, there's like your regular bird baths here and there, and you can see that movement, looks cool, and then like this one corner over here is like super low. And so that area, everything in that spot, all the design went into that one spot. So like the rest of the floor looked good, and then this one corner was all, like it just all ran into this spot. And you're like, man, I didn't even know that was there. Well, it's probably semi-level and flat now, right? So maybe I need to re-pour it. Maybe the customer doesn't like that. Maybe they think it's cool. Maybe put it in your contract, hey, these things happen. It is what it is. I'm playing with liquids and making a floor. It's gonna move around. And we can help you guys with contracts as well. Can you grab the blower when you get a chance? I would like to blow that off. All right, so right now we're gonna wipe this off real quick. Just gonna use alcohol so I don't gas you guys out or anything. And then we're gonna put down the next flake. Any questions on that? No. Okay, if it was a flake floor and I was gonna do that finger test, I would find a spot where there's less flake and I can see a little bit in between the flake, and I would do my test there. Yeah, the same finger test, but I would find a spot in between the flake where I can see the epoxy and I would poke it, right? You're not really gonna be able to do the fingerprint as much, but if I'm on a flake, I might push on it and see, you know, maybe find a nice tall spot and flake and I'll push on it. The thickest spot I can find within a reason of reaching without walking on the floor, and I'll push on it and see if it's moving. Can I push on that flake and kind of and flex it? Is it gonna move around? If it's hard and it's not moving, I'm probably good. And then I'll go on and do my stabbing and my twisting. And that's not an official test, and that's not AS Team standard. That's just something I started doing. A lot of people do that, and it's, you know, everyone's got their own method. I like that one. And luckily, I've never walked out into a floor and made a footprint because I found a soft spot, but I had a buddy who has done that. He checked the doorway. It was all good, and I don't know if it was colder in the back room or if he mixed up his mix in the other side of the project, but he walked out there and he got about halfway through the floor and the whole back half was soft and he had footprints all through. He turned around to walk back out and he had a trail. And he was calling me, he's like, dude, what do I do? And I'm like, dude, that's pretty bad. Like, you might have to redo that. Like that might not be good. So, and these things happen. So let's say I mop this, right? And it passed all the tests. I might make it tacky by putting solvent on it, right? That's good and bad, right? You don't want to make it tacky because if it's still going and you're disrupting what it's doing, right? But if I'm like, oh no, I don't know if my window's open, and then I hit it and it gets a little tacky, that's probably a good sign. If I'm like, oh man, I'm not sure if I missed my window. I think it was a little hotter in here last night than I thought. And then I hit it and it gets a little tacky, then I'm like, okay, I'm probably still good. If it was totally cured, that wouldn't happen, right? Vacuum what, that? Oh. All right, so a quick tip on mopping your flake. So I do have exposed You know, we grinded, we sanded, you know, we diamond brushed. I have exposed flake. I don't want to melt my flakes. I'm not going to overdo it, right? I'm just trying to collect the dust. Anything that the vacuum missed, right? So, you know, you can melt the flake. If you do a flake outside or something, or, you know, it starts raining while you're doing it and that flake is not sealed and it gets all wet, it'll melt. If you get enough water, it'll actually become a layer. I did that once on a patio. It was a covered patio, but water was like washing in, and I like to throw it real heavy, right? I told you guys about that yesterday. I mean, I had like an inch of extra flake, and I was like, man, I don't need to babysit this floor. I'm good. There's so much flake on there. It is going to be 100% covered. I came back the next day. It was like a flood that night. I didn't even know it was going to happen, and I should have checked the weather. I didn't, so that's on me, right? I came back, and all of my flake was like melted. It became like a layer of just solid. It was one giant flake, and I had to grind it off and get to my floor underneath. So, and it looks kind of weird. So if your flake melts a little bit, it actually looks different. You'll see spots like, oh, this spot over here didn't get wet. You'll still have your colors, but it doesn't look the same. So if you have a little bit of rain or something and it kind of melts part of it, maybe you didn't have a bunch of extra flake, it just rained after you're cleaning it, or while you're cleaning it, you're about to throw your next layer and it starts raining on you, you'll notice a difference. And then if you go and seal that, you're going to have that difference in your floor. Your best bet is going to be to just fix it. It is what it is. Notice here, we went pretty deep. So why is it okay for me to poly on this and broadcast into the poly? Anybody? But why not use an MVB? So the reason is because I already have, I did this floor, right? You know, I mean, if this was my project, I did this. I know what's under here. I prepped it. I am satisfied with the MVB that's already on the floor. So at this point, it doesn't matter. I could do a whole bunch of different things, right? The most efficient thing would be to just use poly on my flake and reflake it. So that's what we're going to do today. This would be an area of concern. If you go too deep, and maybe I went through the MVB, right? So this is a really deep spot here. This white here is the floor we're on. One of the layers, I don't know which layers it is. It feels pretty low. But if you go through your MVB and you expose concrete, that could be a problem. You might need to MVB that spot and try to kind of blend it, feather it in, and then you can flake everything and it'll probably be fine. All right, so, and I did not even get that very clean, but it, again, like I said, it's gonna come off in like a week. So, let's see what colors we got. All right. The one on the floor was the gray one, right? Yeah. All right. We're gonna do a much nicer color this time. Saw some domino in there. Alrighty, guys. So the mix time on this is a lot different. It's a lot faster. Do you want to grab me the larger cup there? Probably 1 cup will do it. Yeah, just one. I mean, you can grab a couple. We can clean the paddle. You can grab 2 or so. All right, we're gonna do some domino. This is a pretty popular color. So what I do, all right, so what is this? I just reached into here and I found a block. What does that mean? That means moisture. So we do not want to do that. It also has glitter in it, so I don't want to do that either. Glitter flake is a thing. You can add like up to 3% glitter. That adds a whole bunch of extra labor and process and extra sanding. We're not going to get into that. Not going to do that. You can offer it, but you need to charge more for it. So we're actually going to do wombat then. Or domino or something. Dolerite. Let me see here. I can do dolerite. That's a good color. All right. So we're actually going to do one of the marble series. This is a pretty good color right here. Pretty popular color. I'd say probably right up there with carbon and basalt. Dolerite's pretty popular. All right, guys, so this flake here, if you look at it, it's got little lines in it, right? So not only is it all different angles and shapes like every other flake, but it's also got these lines in it, right? So it's even more abstract patterns and lack of a pattern, I guess you could say, to kind of break up the visual. But these are super cool. These are very popular. Get the drill. All right, how much pigment is in that? Goodness. All right, folks. Does anybody remember the ratios on polyaspartics?
2-to-1.
No, 1-to-1. 1-to-1. So, I mean, you have 2-to-1 polys, but a lot of the ones we carry are 1-to-1.
What was the thing that was 2 to?
The epoxy was 2-to-1. So these are 2-to-1. I'm sure you could have 1-to-1 epoxies as well. I've seen 3-to-1, 2-to-1. I've used a countertop 1-to-1. So this might be sitting for a little while. So I'm gonna mix this up, right? Actually, I'm not. Remember, you guys are doing all the hands-on today. So spin that up gently. Whoever wants to do that. Who wants to be the mixer? Yeah. Yeah, you just want to spin it up a little bit. Bring you over a chair, man. Mix station guy. Always needs a chair. I like to get a bucket as my chair instead of bringing an actual chair around. Yeah, 5-gallon buckets are great. There's even a lid you can get on that spins. Perfect. What I like to do is have a spinning seat on my bucket and then have like rags, gloves, you know, things that the mixer always needs. Extra paint sticks, maybe a permanent marker. Stuff that way the mixer's not looking for these things, right? He's like, oh man, I need another glove. Oh, well, I'm sitting on it. Perfect.
Are we supposed to time that? We don't have to time this.
No, he's just, if any pigment settled or anything like that or separated, he's just re-suspending, he's spinning it up, making sure it's all consistent, right?
So what's the name of the white stuff?
What thing with the white stuff?
The white bucket. What's the name of that?
So this is aftershock. The white bucket's gonna be the A, and the black bucket's gonna be the B.
And it's always like that with labels, so I don't have to wonder.
Everything's labeled, and we try to make it pretty simple, yeah. Sometimes they'll both be white, sometimes they'll both be black. We have different colors we like to try, and it's the different.
We need alcohol to clean this.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you some xylene here.
So we'll do the mix.
Yeah, it'll be 1-to-1, so we'll just pour it nice and even. Keep your face back from the xylene. If you're on an actual project, a whole 5-gallon, and give it like, I don't know, like 3 inches of xylene or something, then the guy mixing, he can just very easily clean his paddle. If he needs to, he can even take the paddle off and just set it in the xylene, and it'll start melting it right off. And then he can go, you know, open his next bucket or whatever. I like to pull all the strips off, pop the lids, but leave them setting on top so no bugs fly into them. But then I don't have to worry about it. You don't have to completely clean that. You can just kind of set the drill down next to
You
it.
need paper towels.
Yeah, I'll get you some paper towels. It's okay.
The bathroom.
Okay. All right. So 1 to 1. So if you want to do, let's say, what is that, a gallon or a half gallon?
A half gallon, yeah.
So yeah, just make a half gallon. So do 1 quart and 1 quart.
Two,
You can do 2 liters. So do 1 liter and 1 liter then. Whatever you want to do, as long as it's even.
64.
I always do quarts, is what I do, I personally. So if you're gonna do, so do this one and that one.
Yeah,
Right.
64
And
this
32, yeah,
So
correct.
This one is a half, another one is a half, another half.
Correct, yeah. Exactly the same amount for both.
La mitad no me eches. La mitad no me eches. Es la mitad de este y la mitad de este.
That's okay, you can just pour it back in, man.
Oh, no era este, eso fue
No.
That's perfect. You just pour it back in and then do it again. That's why it helps to have a marker, and then you like pre-measure all your mixes, and you tell your guys, hey, when you're asking for mixes, these are your options. You can do, 3 quarts, or if you're, if it's a 2 to 1, you can do 3 quarts. If it's a 1 to 1, you just tell them like you can do this size and this size, and give them like 2 or 3 options.
Le pones el 64.
All right, has anybody mixed a poly before?
Just one time.
You're gonna mix this for about 90 seconds.
64.
About a minute and a half. So these polys here, Aftershock, Fallouts, are probably our most popular polys. Or specifically polyaspartic, for anyone who's not sure what I mean by poly. Poly is pretty vague. When I say poly, I'm referring to polyaspartic. These are super forgiving. It's always best practice to use a drill, but if you're making a small batch, you could mix it by hand, right? As long as you're thorough. So make sure you get the bottom real good, get the sides real good. When you get the bottom, try to hold it perfectly flat so it scrapes all the bottom. And we're going over,
Dale, minuto y medio.
yeah, if
4
you get air bubbles, it's not going to be the end of the world. So notice how watery this is, how thin this is.
¿Eso? Falta 30.
Get a roller. All right, so when you're at 90 seconds, go ahead and just start pouring it on the floor. I'll be right back. Grab a tool for you.
You just go in a pattern like we did with the,
What's that?
you just go in a pattern, like any.
No pattern. Just pour it all out. Yeah, just go ahead and pour it out. So with poly, and that's probably good. Hold off on the rest of that. Oh, all right. That's okay. We'll go a little thick. All right. So when you're squeegeeing, so depending on your thickness, on what you're going over, if you're going direct to concrete, you're going over flake. Did I get it nice and flat, or is there some highs and lows? You got to decide how thick do you want it to be, right? So I'm going to go a little heavy today. Typically, you don't really need to go that heavy, right? So we're going to use a 5 to 7. You could even do a flat flex if this was like super peaks and valleys. The poly is going to grab, or the polyaspartic is going to grab the flake really hard, right? So if this is my garage, right? This is the door to the garage. I like to go side to side, right? And I'm gonna work my way out. So now, that being said, you can do most of your cutting with the squeegee. It's nice to have somebody cutting, right? Especially if you're newer and you haven't been doing this a lot. I'm gonna have someone else cutting the edges for me. But if I'm persuasive with my squeegee, I can just push up. I don't wanna slop it on the wall or anything, right? And if I need to, I just pull it back, you know. Again, remember, this is a 5 to 7, so theoretically 7, theoretically 5, right? I do not need this to be thick at all, so I'm gonna apply some decent pressure here. I'm not gonna push it just because we're on flake and it's gonna kinda vibrate as I push it, and I don't wanna flick anything into that. So I'd rather just go nice and thick and call it a day. Plus, if we go thick, then you guys are gonna see what happens when it eats the flake, and then I can kinda teach you guys what that does. So
5 to 7 is the angle?
5 to 7 is the mils on the squeegee. It's the teeth.
Oh.
It's how much material is going to be left behind. So if somebody wants to put some shoes on and push this around, that'd be awesome. So poly is going to be much faster than epoxy, right? So your MRAP, you have lots of play time. You even have a pretty decent pot life, more than most. I still stand by my rule of thumb of epoxy, get it out instantly. Poly, I can kind of leave in the bucket until as I need it. You know, within reason, you don't want to let it sit there forever and cook off, but I don't need to dump it all out immediately, right? So once it is out, any amount I do pour out, my clock starts, right? You only have so much time to work the poly, okay? So if it's nice and, well, not nice, if it's super humid, it's super hot, maybe I'm even in the sun, probably don't want to be in the direct sunlight, I don't have as much playtime, right? So I need to move it around and get it down and get it back rolled. And I'll kind of explain why you back roll, what that accomplishes, and the best practice to do that.
Jeremy, where did you say the door was?
The door's over here, right? So, well, he can do, it's a class, so you can stand on whatever side you need to stand on. But theoretically, when I explain the angles and stuff that I'm starting and stopping at, it'll make sense when we start rolling.
I just had missed it when you said it.
Yeah. So usually, here's the back wall, I would pour, you know, 1.5 feet, 2 feet off the wall so I don't splash the wall, because I've done that before. I just went in one time and I was trying to rush, and I had a 5-gallon bucket, I had a 4-gallon mix going, and I was like just throwing it out, and it was like all over it was everywhere, and I was like, why did I do that? I was like, I'm rushing, and now I have a huge mess all over the wall, and it was some very sticky, very gooey material that was not just going to come off that wall. All right. So I pour it off the wall between, you know, if that's a 2-foot squeegee, right? It's 24 inches. I prefer the 18-inch, but this is 24 inches. I'll pour about, you know, I'll pour my bead about here, right? And then I will push that bead to the wall, or ribbon. I'll push it to the wall to get, you know, a couple inches off the wall, and then I'll work the edge like he's doing now. So I'll push it closer after I pour it, and then I'll work my way out. Now, if you have a larger area or whatnot, maybe you're short on people or whatever, something I like to do is I will come down a wall, at least one wall. I might do a big L and work one edge, and so then I only have one edge to work on. You know, I don't want to take too much material down that wall. I want to have the majority of it right here to work back and forth. And then, you know, if you want, you could even go full horseshoe. And then if you pull both those edges down, now all you have to do is the middle, and you can work that middle super fast. So I'll do that back wall, take a little bit, work down that edge, not take too much. I'll work down as far as I can, probably no more than half a garage. The average garage around here is 400 feet. I'll probably work like, you know, 10, 15 feet down that wall, right? And then if I have too much after that, I'll just bring it back, go over, and I'll come down the other wall, work that edge, and now all I have to do is zip the middle. I can just go back and forth, and then my roller can get on the floor and start rolling. So with poly specifically, the faster the squeegeer is, the better, right? You need that roller to be on the floor as soon as possible. Because if you take too long squeegeeing, you know, and you're doing a big floor, it's going to start getting tacky. You know, it's sucking in the humidity or whatever it's doing. These are aliphatic, so it's, you know, it's going to be a lot harder to work with. You're going to get lap lines and you're going to get different issues. So if you're quick enough, I mean, you won't even, it'll look perfect. And so, I mean, we'll go over that in a minute when we start rolling.
So you said the square foot of this square, and then that's how you determine how much to put 1 to 1. Or you just don't worry about that, just put some out there.
You want to have a plan. Yeah, that's a good question. You definitely want to have an idea of how much you should need. And a lot of people, a good practice to do is to actually take tape and be like, all right, if this is, you know, X amount of feet, then 1 kit or this many gallons, you know, if I'm a 2-gallon mix or a 2-gallon kit should get me, and you tape the wall. This is 10 feet off here and it's X amount of feet here. All right, tape. Here's my invisible line, right? So this kit should get me to here. And then, you know, as you're going, you can gauge, is my measurement accurate? Did I bring enough material? Do I need to go back and add more? When do I get my next mix ready? You know, et cetera, all right? So let's pause for a quick moment. So while I have a puddle, I need to wet this roller, right? This is like more of a microfiber style. I really like these, but I always used the white woven 3/8 inch nap, right? I can tell you how much material that'll hold. Theoretically, a white woven 3/8 inch, 18-inch roller will hold approximately 16 ounces of material, right? So so notice I didn't wet this when he was over here, right? So when you have a lot of material like this, I don't want my roller to start getting hard or start getting sticky or anything like that, you know, before I can even roll. If he's over here and I wet it at the beginning, I mean, it could be 10 minutes before I start rolling, and then my roller's not even any good anymore. So you don't want so much that I go out here and I start pushing a puddle and a bunch of material comes out of my roller, but I don't want not enough that I end up taking it off the floor. All right, so now this is nice and wet. Who wants to roll? You want to roll? All right, so I'm actually going to have you go like this way. So if you're theoretically...
So this way?
Yeah, this way. So if you're... Well, real quick, if your garage is going this way, right? If I squeegee side to side, I need to back roll the opposite direction. So squeegee, back roll, right?
Okay.
And then... Yeah, you're going to do like the W's. You can do the W's, and then at the end, if we need to, we can do a cross roll, which is like a finishing texturing move.
Okay.
And you can be faster. They just don't flick any into the other floor. All right, you may now finish. You don't have enough over there. You're going to want to take that puddle. You might want to pull that pretty tight. So you don't have to be slow. You can yeet this layer. The faster you get this done, then you can decide whether you need the next roll or not. You just don't want to flick it on the drywall. You know, if you get near that wall and you see things flying, or maybe there's some little pieces of flake that are getting sucked out.
Yeah.
Maybe you know, even if you vacuumed and did all the things correctly, maybe there's still some more. So right here, he's doing what's called a cross roll. So this is back roll, but you can see lines from him, right? So now he's going to cross roll. So the key with cross rolling is to have no pressure. And if you're out there on that floor, you go out without picking it up, and then you come back, and you just try to do that. And if you're holding the roller like this, you might even pick up the weight of the stick. But you see how that laid that out even more? Does that make sense? And now you're at the door, and if we have too much material, which I don't think we're going to have too much, I think we're going to have just enough, there's a couple things you can do to get rid of it. And that's something that's quite unfortunate, is having too much material at the end. Then you got to figure out how to get it off the floor without getting it on the driveway or the apron or whatever. Oh, that's like the perfect amount of material. So you want to back roll first, because remember you only came to here?
How much we use for this one? 1 gallon, right?
That's about a gallon. I mean, and it was an irregular surface, so the measurement's not really going to be that accurate, right? I mean, we had some low spots here. The previous layer had really high spots and whatnot, and we didn't even do a a perfect profiling. And then you can see, okay, so see these here? Those are fish eyes, right? All those are from shiny spots where we did not profile appropriately. Remember I was saying, hey, we need to get to the next thing. We're gonna leave some shiny here, and I told you guys, make sure you don't do that. This is why. So, I mean, these are small fish eyes, but they are still fish eyes. So what that is like a...
You mean these things right here?
Yeah, those are fish eyes. So the material it's like rejecting, it's like pushing away. Does that make sense?
Give me another hand.
Yeah, what he's gonna have to do is gonna try to pull them back across and break the tension, but really it's like...
Normally?
no, that's not good, that's bad.
Okay.
That's bad. That's because I didn't get rid of all the shiny. It's like rejecting. It's not going to bond to that. Those are excuse me. Oh, those are all weak spots in your floor. Go ahead and hit those again. Try to.
Question. So this
Yes.
road is going harder. So you have to
Gotta get a new roller.
new rollers. This is trash.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're going and it gets hard, if it's
Yeah,
not
going
doing
too
what it's
hard.
doing, it'll make lines and it'll make choppings in the floor. It'll make weird. Yeah, you don't want that. So you just gotta.
You can't just add more paint stuff to it.
So if you're quick about it and it's not dying and you get it out, the next mix comes, I can wet it in that fresh mix and that'll give it some more life.
Oh, okay.
But if it's too late, it's too late. So you need to have many rollers on standby, and every so many feet, you might make it 200 feet, you might make it 400 feet, you might make it 600, 800 feet. If you keep wetting it and you keep working it and keep the roller alive, you can do that. But you're not always going to get that. You're trying to fix this, you're trying to, oh, I forgot to cut this over here or whatever, and you forgot, or you set the roller down and then the pressure ended up creating a flat line on it, and you're rolling and now it's going doot, 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 doot. I need another roller. Get that out of here. You got to hand it off to somebody.
That's why we need extra material. Bring to extra material when.
Yeah. So if let's say we got to here and I ran out of material, we didn't have more. Let's say we made half as much as we did. I need to have that next mix coming before I get to here. If I run out on poly and I don't have that next mix coming, I might get a burn line, which is basically the material here is setting up, and the next mix takes a minute or 2 minutes or whatever, and it gets down and I'm rolling. This is still fresh. This is not. This is not B. You can't work this anymore. And this can still be worked. And so you might get a line. You could even roll over it, and then you come over here, and over here you're not taking any material, you're not even moving it around. You come over, you maybe just kind of texturing it a little bit, and you come over here and you end up taking some material. And so it even makes the line worse. We call that a burn line. So there's lap lines, burn lines, all these different lines you can get, but we need to hit this again. We want to hit that again. Yeah. So yeah, for you guys in the camera, these are fish eyes. This is either rejection or whatever. It's from the shiny spots from not appropriately getting in all the low areas between the flake. It's not focused. Can you focus it now? Not that one, that's like a divot. But all these little speckles, they probably look like speckles on the camera. Focused? Yeah, these are, it's like rejection. So it is a problem. That is not what you want to see in your floor, right?
So hit it again, but with a different roller or this roller?
This roller's still good. Yeah, no, we're good right now. You'll know when it's not good. It'll be like hard. Now see how sticky that is?
Yeah.
That means this is tacking up. The harder it is to roll is usually a sign that you need to get off the floor. Right? Right now we're fine. I'm actually, that stickiness is actually going to help me get rid of these fish eyes. So I wanted you guys to see that, but I don't want it to show after we flake it. So I'm going to go ahead and just push it over. I'm basically just forcing the material over it.
And this is where you do no pressure.
No, the part he did with the no pressure was doing the cross roll. But we're beyond that. I am now just fixing these fish eyes, which is, something you don't want to happen. If you have a bunch of fish eyes, you probably have a bigger issue, right? Because there's not a good bond, right?
Right now you can actually see the line that you started with right there.
You can see the line?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So hopefully you guys can see some of these lines after we flake it too. Not to put an ugly floor in the showroom here, but if you guys can see what that looks like without having to find out on a project, that would be ideal for learning. And you very well might see some of these lines, but you might not. All right, we do need to flake this pretty quickly here. So I like to take flake, put it in like a 5-gallon bucket or a whole bunch of 5-gallon buckets. I have them ready, staged at the beginning. I'll have them right outside the door. As soon as my cutter finishes cutting, he gets off the floor, and you know, here's the back wall, right? So we make it to the halfway down. We're rolling down over here now, and I'm squeegeeing by the door. I'm gonna have my guy who finished cutting already, he's gonna go back to where we started, and he's gonna start flaking. As soon as he's able to get in there and flake it, he's gonna do that. So if you guys wanna start throwing that.
You throw it in the air, you just flick it across the.
I like to go heavy.
Technique.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we don't have a 5-gallon bucket, so I'm just gonna grab the whole box, right? And heavy. You know, you see a lot of videos doing this. That takes forever, man. If you go heavy, you don't have to babysit it. Just do me a favor, here, I'll do the light spot here so you guys can, well actually we don't have enough material for it to eat anywhere, so I can't show you that. If we had left a thick spot, then you would see it, but somebody throw this. It's not gonna be enough. It would need to be out in the middle.
Tara.
You can step on it. It is best practice not to step on it, but flake is one that you can. Like if this was a quartz floor, you cannot step into it. Flake, I walk out there and fix things, or let's say I work my way out of the garage, the whole thing is flaked, and I look back in there, and all the way at the beginning there was a really thick spot, and all my flake has been absorbed, and I can see the epoxy or the poly or whatever layer I'm on. I need to go throw some on. I need to go throw more flake. So that's what I'm gonna do. So I mean, you wanna be careful when you're walking, but you can use your cleats and cleat out there.
I didn't know it be like that. I thought it was like, ooh.
I mean, there's people that do that, you know, and there's instances where you need to do that. Let's say you're running low on flake. Let's say you forgot one of your boxes flake, or you made a miscalculation. It happens, you know, these things happen. All right, we are one box short, or maybe one of my boxes is half empty. All right, I need to throw less, so I'm gonna throw it up in the air and let it fall. As it's falling, it will kind of disperse, right? And it'll cover the area, and I'm just gonna throw just enough to cover it, and then just finish my floor. And then, you know, so let's say I get the whole thing flaked nice and heavy, but I threw it too heavy and I ran out. Let's say I had even extra, but I threw it so heavy, I didn't finish the last 2 feet of my floor. How do you fix that? You take a blower, you walk to the back where you started, and you gently blow the flake, the extra flake in the back, to the front of the floor. And that's how you fix that. So, and I've had to do that too, you know.
So when the flake is no longer sticking, do you sweep it up and keep it?
Yeah, we're gonna do that today.
Oh.
Yeah, we're gonna come back to this in like, I don't know, like an hour or two. This is aftershock. We're probably gonna be back on this in like an hour and a half, 2 hours. I mean, I don't know what temperature the floor is right now. It was pretty warm in here yesterday. It's probably like in the 70s in here. So we'll probably be able to come back in here in no time. So we're out, we're finished. I'm looking back in the garage, right? I'm looking for shiny, I'm looking for reflections, or I'm looking for like a whole bunch of gray that I can see showing through. I need to throw more flake on that. All right. Now, if you have, let's say you had something in the way back and you saw one, and your guy takes a whole bucket and he goes in the back and he fixes that spot, before he comes out, tell him to look at the floor, because he can now see the reflection of the daylight hitting that floor. Now he can see all of it better than anybody else can, because I'm outside. You know, maybe there's poor lighting. Maybe there's no lights in there, right? Maybe they don't have lights in the garage yet. He's going to use the daylight. He can even squat down, look around, and he's going to be like, there, 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 and there. And you're like, oh, okay. I'm going to throw the ones that I can reach from here, and he's going to go around and get all the ones inside that I can't reach, and then he's going to carefully come out the garage. Now, if he slips and slides his cleat across, you know, you can flake that, but that might still be there. You know, and that happens. What you don't want is, you know, when I come back, let's say, and this is a true story, this happened. So I did a floor. It was like, I want to say it was like carbon or something. It was one of the black floors. It was super cool. I had black epoxy, mostly black. I think it was like, maybe it wasn't carbon. It was something that was mostly black. It was like 90% black. It was this super cool black floor. And the rain came in and ruined the front. I'm like, oh man. So I'm like scraping off all this extra wet, dissolved flake. And I was like, now this doesn't match the rest of my floor. And I was like, okay, well, I decided to redo the whole thing, seamless, right? So like, all right, I'm just gonna reflake the whole thing. And it ended up looking great. But a problem that I had was I was walking through, I put my poly down and I started reflaking it, and I'm walking around in this as I'm doing it, like fixing things. There was like I missed a spot. I'm like, man, today was a bad day. I was just like missing things. I had to fix all these things, go back, and it ended up I'm walking around, and the poly is very, very sticky, right? So on the bottom of my cleat, it was like a Christmas tree growing of flake. It was all these flakes I was stabbing through with my really sharp cleats, and the poly was sticking them together. And so I had all these blobs on my cleats, and I'm walking around, and then they're falling off in the floor. So I came back the next day to do my new top coat, and there's all these Christmas trees on the floor. And I was like, what in the world is that? So now I was going around cutting all these little towers out of my floor, and I was like, God. So, but it ended up turning out, it was a good floor, it looked good. But those are things that can happen. So if you're walking around, and all of a sudden you see a blob of flake that's like, just like it looks like, and there's like a hole in the middle, you're like, oh man, that probably came off my foot. You look at your foot, or you look at your buddy's foot, or one of your guys, and everybody's got a bunch of flake or quartz or whatever. You guys gotta take a second, clean those. If you're like way out there on the floor, you're not really gonna be able to do that unless you have a rag or whatever. I would, especially you guys, if you're out on the floor and you see something in it, hopefully you're wearing pants that have cargo pockets, and accept that those pants are now, those are epoxy pants. You find something in that floor, you find a bug, whatever, a moth lands in your epoxy, there's a piece of wood, a big leaf blows in, you're gonna grab it and it's covered in material. You need to put that in your pocket. That pocket's done, don't have anything in that pocket, and you're gonna walk around the floor, and you're gonna pick these things out, and you're just gonna start shoving them in your pocket so you don't have to redo that floor. And it's gonna happen, all right? But that's a quick fix, and it's gonna save you a lot of money. I can't, a billion bajillion times if I had to do that. I got a pocket full of epoxy trash in my pocket. So it is what it is, and the floor, you can't tell that I did that.
This happened to me when I sent the floor, the hardwood floor.
Yeah.
And I see that blob. I have to put it in my
Yep.
packet. And yeah.
Yeah, and you know, you'll pull out the blobs later, but it is what it is. All right, now you guys are gonna play with some more epoxies. So right behind you, there's a bunch of little boards. If you wanna pull those out, set them on top. We're gonna put the lids back on this material here.
You just want to tell everybody we're going to take a little break to move things.
Oh yeah, we're gonna take a little 5-minute break. The camera gentleman, it needs to move the camera over and set up over here.